Thank you so much for joining us here today and taking time out of her very busy shooting schedule in London. Kathy, you have so many amazing stories and have worked on so many incredible films. But one of my favorite stories of yours starts earlier on. Kathy actually started out as a camera operator in San Diego. And a few years ago, she discovered something quite incredible about how she got that job. Can you set the scene? Tell us the story, the party, all of it.
Well, I do think it's interesting looking back that I have a lot of women to thank for getting me to where I am today, starting with my mom. But this story in particular was interesting because I got a job at a local television station operating camera. I had been working in the newsroom. I'd been doing a number of different jobs. And several years later, I went to this party of a colleagues in Vermont. And there were a number of different people, not just people in the entertainment business, at this party. And this woman walked up to me and she said, "You're Kathy Kennedy, aren't you?" Now, first of all, I was enjoying the fact no one had any idea who I was. But I was surprised. I said, "Yes, I am." She said, "Well, I work for a law firm in Washington, D.C., and we filed a petition to deny against the station that you were working for. And we made a condition of the license that they hire women in technical positions, and you were one of them, and we've been watching you." So I at least felt good that I had managed to use the job in a way that has put me where I am today. But what I think is really interesting is the fascinating thing that I look back on is that the fact that that opportunity was afforded me, it's really put me in a position to make decisions that affect a lot of the women that I work with today that I think has made a huge difference. I mean, the fact that I can sit in a meeting and say, I think the protagonist should be a woman. Mm-hmm. I think that those are the kind of changes that are really, really important in our business. And that was the beginning. That was the opportunity that afforded me that position.
And I want to hear a lot more about your take on women in Hollywood in general. But another great story that you have from early on is, and first I should say actually, Kathy played football on the boys team in high school, right?
Yes, I did.
Seriously.
I was actually the quarterback.
The quarterback.
I could throw.
But tell us about the Vikings game and getting sidelined by.
I was actually at the time, I wasn't a camera operator on that. I was handling the parabolic microphone, which was also relatively new. In fact, it was a huge ordeal for me to just get down to the field and through the press room, and I had to go through the locker room, and everybody had to be warned that I was coming through the locker room so that I wouldn't see anything. And then I got out on the field, and you hold this, at the time, this huge parabolic microphone in this giant dish. And the job is that you're supposed to stay 5 yards ahead of the play. So I am watching the play at the line of scrimmage, and it's a pass play, so I take off running, because that's part of the job. And I didn't see that there was this huge Minnesota Viking linebacker over here and he hits me at the ankles. I fly through the air, microphone, everything scattered, and I ended up on national television. But that was one of my early experiences.
What made you want to get into the movie making business?
You know, it's funny, I don't really feel that there was a moment that I said I want to get into the movie business. I had gone to school actually having no intention of getting into the movie business, and I took a handful of electives, and I just found my passion. That was it.
Were you, I know you were kind of, some of it was, of course, talent, some of it was starting your career in an era where you were given chances and young people were given chances. Were you told no along the way?
I don't remember being told no. I always, I look back and I feel that I had a pretty clear idea of what it was I wanted to do and what I could do. And maybe even when I look back and think about the experiences I had with sports, that I think that had a lot to do with giving me the sort of basis of understanding of what it meant to work as a team and to drive forward without feeling like it had to be something that was my own personal gain.
And I've seen a lot of photos of you in the 80s with Steven Spielberg, with Lucas, with your husband, Frank Marshall. You were comfortable and unfazed by the fact that you were surrounded by a lot of men. Have things changed? I mean, I've seen some of the numbers, but have things changed for women in Hollywood?
It's interesting. I don't think things have really changed that much. And it's something that is very, very perplexing, because the media tends to go after the statistics on women directing and women writing, but it's really more to do with women getting involved and getting jobs in all aspects of the entertainment industry, and that's what I feel hasn't changed. I just recently went to a Saturday Night Live taping, and I was sitting at the front row of the balcony, and I leaned over and I was looking at a number of the people on the floor operating camera and stage managing, and all of a sudden I turned to my husband, I said, "Look, there are no women." And it was 1973 that I was hired as a camera operator. And there are still no women. And that's just, it's completely unacceptable. I have no idea why we can't change that.
Why do you think that this is the case?
I'm not sure I completely understand, other than the fact that there are people involved in powerful positions who are just not trying hard enough to make opportunities available that were made to me, over 35 years ago, that people are not reaching out and trying to make those opportunities available today. And it may have something to do with unions, and I don't know if that's because of the roster system not, again, providing those opportunities for women to get on those rosters and be a part of the system that allows for more diversity in technical positions. But it's still, there's an alarming number of women that are just not able to get those jobs.
And you're in a powerful position. You're now running Lucasfilm. You were handpicked by George Lucas to do this, and you, for many reasons, said yes. Can you talk about what you're doing today, not only hiring women at Lucasfilm, but also in producing the new Star Wars episode, what you've done to instill more strong
one of the
characters?
things, the fact that the company was bought by the Walt Disney Company has been amazing, because they very much support the fact that we are trying to grow in the workforce, a number of women in executive positions and in all positions inside the company, and with the movies that we're making and with the protagonists that we're putting in the stories. So I get a huge amount of support with that. But we have 50% of our executive team are women. And 6 out of 8 of the people in my story group are women. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that would be surprised that we're making Star Wars movies and the majority of the people involved in the development of those stories are women. And I think that it's making a huge difference in the stories that we're trying to tell. I feel it is going to happen. We are going to hire a woman who's going to direct a Star Wars movie. I have no doubt. On the other hand, I want to make sure that we put somebody in that position who's set up for success. It's not just a token job to look out and try to find a woman that we could put into a position of directing Star Wars. And it is interesting, because I have a huge number of men who call me constantly and tell me how much of a Star Wars fan they are and how much they want to get involved in anything to do with Star Wars. I don't have a lot of women who call and have those conversations with me. Now, that's not to say that there aren't Star Wars fans out there and women who have been, their careers have been shaped in some way by Star Wars, if they're in film, but it's not in the same way that it is for men. So that's one of the challenges that we keep talking about, is if we do want to bring a woman in to direct a Star Wars movie, we want to make sure that it's somebody who's passionate and really, really wants to do a Star Wars movie. We don't want to talk somebody into it.
Mm-hmm. And what I did, just on that note, I actually got to go to the Star Wars celebration last spring, and I was really struck by how many women, I mean, entire families were there. There were a lot of Princess Leias. But what role did you play in also helping to shape the new female lead character in the new movie?
Well, it's one of the first things JJ and I talked about, and that we talked to Alan Horn about. It was a very early decision and a choice, and something that we worked a long time developing. I think the interesting path we've had is the conversation that took place around consumer products, because there were a lot of companies that were in place who, frankly, didn't initially feel that Star Wars was for girls. And when you have a company...
Star Wars fans out here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you have a company situation where between Lucasfilm and Disney, we were all looking at this situation and saying, no, with Star Wars, we have to change this. We have to make sure that we create products that are, in a sense, appealing to both boys and girls. What's wrong with that? I mean, even with simple things like T-shirts, there's a fantastic story with this young woman who came to Lucasfilm in 2009. She plays the character of Ahsoka in both Rebels, and she also had a role in Clone Wars. And she came to Lucasfilm in 2009 saying, why aren't there clothes that are tied to Star Wars for girls? And she struggled for quite a while, and then put a company together called Her Universe. And it's doing unbelievable business. And it's in fact, the T-shirt that I ran down on the Comic-Con floor and grabbed and put on before the Comic-Con convention. But that's an example where, you know, it just shows that anybody who steps out and does something of quality, they find that there's plenty of young girls and women out there that are just as interested as the boys.
Mm-hmm. And you've made a lot of other changes at Lucasfilm. I mean, it's gone through quite a transformation. You taking over, turning it more into a studio again, being part of Disney. Can you talk about some of the other big changes that you've made over the last 3 years?
Well, I would say the most amazing thing is that since the company has been bought, how we've been able to scale every line of business inside Lucasfilm because of the partnership with Walt Disney has been incredible. I came in obviously knowing a lot about how to make movies and how to put the production department together, but I'd had only limited experience with all the things involved in consumer products, the innovation inside technology with consumer products, what's going on in the theme parks, digital interactivity, the gaming that was being developed. It was so much more than anything I had done in just creating a movie, that by working with the Walt Disney Company and realizing that we had all these different lines of businesses that were supporting what we were doing, it's really literally been 3 years today that the company was bought, and we're doing things way beyond what we ever imagined. I mean, it's extraordinary, the amount that we've been able to create with television animation, everything to do with the game that actually is being released within the next week, Battlefront, the movie that's being released in December, one that we're halfway through shooting right now.
Schedule.
It's insane. We start the next Saga movie in January. I couldn't have done any of this without the support that I'm getting from Disney. It's actually hard for me to even keep up with what we've been trying to do since this all started. It's pretty much of a whirlwind.
Were you always a Star Wars fan?
I was a Star Wars fan in the fact that I had already decided to become a film major in college when the movie came out. And there's no question that it was a groundbreaking movie. I mean, what George Lucas created right from the moment New Hope was released, I think anybody and everybody, certainly that was studying film like I was, recognized that he had created something that was a complete and total game changer in the way that we tell stories. And I think that that's something inside the company that, I still find the most interesting, which is that George recognized that taking stories to drive technology was one of the most important things you could do. And that's something that we continue to do as we develop our stories. We keep looking at where can we start to push the technological boundaries to do more than we could have ever imagined.
And no pressure at all, but you've got this huge weight on your shoulders because you've been given the keys to the Star Wars empire. And people are, I mean, this is one of the most anticipated movies of, in a decade probably. Huge legacy. What do you want your legacy to be, other than hopefully a very successful movie and many more?
It's funny because I've never really sort of sat back and thought about legacy, but I would say that now that I'm so deeply involved in taking what George created and being a part of this amazing partnership that's going to take it into the future, that I'm enjoying being a part of creating that architecture, of structuring something around hopefully making more and more stories within a universe that I think is incredibly rich for future storytelling. And that's what I love. And nurturing the talent, not only in our company, but new people that we can bring in, has been incredibly rewarding, because I'm running across people all the time that just want to be a part of this. Mm-hmm. And so I would say that that's what I would like to have a part in, probably moving forward, is the innovative technology alongside the people, the resources of people that we can bring into this.
Well, we are out of time. I'm sure a lot of us probably will be in the theaters December 18th. We'll send you our feedback. Thank you so much, Kathy.
Thank you. Thank you.